I first met Michelle maybe 6 years ago while I was working at Terra Data Corporation as an IT and data science consultant. She was introducing tools like open source R and data visualization platforms like Tableau through her company, Zlift Solutions, which interestingly, 6 years ago, these tools were almost unheard of in the corporate workplace. And shortly after that, we both joined the first big data conference in the Philippines, organized in Enderon colleges by Colin Christie and several other people. And that core group later became the Analytics Association of the Philippines. And, we've worked together and kept in touch ever since. Welcome to Data Ethics Conversations. Today, we talk to Michelle Alarcon, founder and CEO of Zlift Solutions, a data science consulting firm. She's also the co-founder of the AAP along with me and currently head of learning at the For the Women or FTW Foundation, a nonprofit organization that trains women scholars in data science. In this conversation, we will talk about the growth of the analytics profession. Michelle being one of the pioneers that I know of, and she's seen the development of analytics long before the word data science was popular. We'll also touch on gender pressures in the workplace, and the story of women navigating a career in analytics. If you like this podcast, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitter at EthicsPH, and on LinkedIn at DataEthicsPH. And now, my conversation with Michelle Alarcon.
Hello, Doc. Thank you for inviting me. It's been finally, oops, I'm lagging. Finally, this is happening.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Actually, it's great to have you, especially I guess this month is International Women's Month. I'm sure you're getting a lot of press. I saw the Sparta posters come out a couple of days ago. No? Anyway, sige, I'm sure you're no stranger
Yeah,
to the
that's nice.
audience. There's a lot of people watching us who are also part of the R user group, part of AAP, so I think everyone knows you. But just in case anyone does not
Yeah,
necessarily
oh
know
yeah,
you,
of course.
maybe give us the rundown, no? A little bit about yourself.
Right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more people, especially those who are just getting started, no, involved in the industry. So I'm working with Doc for of the was born in analytics since I would say 1999 when it was still called data mining. Of course, not counting when I was studying in stat, no, and doing statistical analysis and all that, kind of background. So if I may, I'll kind of put a structure in presenting myself now in terms of the profile and why I'm actually doing all these things. So look at all these logos, and what is common among all these logos is that is data essentially. Now, so starting with the one at the top, the Zlift Solutions. It's my baby. It's an analytics consulting firm that I started in 2013, and this was my I planned it to be like a semi-retirement plan. I felt, I'm done with corporate and all that. And I said, I want to do my own projects, just a few clients and, get them started and just progressing on their analytics journeys. Just get a small team with me. And that was 2013, no? Early days. And then it turns out there was a big demand for it. And the team just grew on its first year, double the size for I think. And now we're data essentially, not just for the sophisticated data science projects, but even at the very beginning when they're just starting to ask their, what do we need to have to be a data driven organization. So that's us, no? And that was my venue for still continuing to practice what I really love. And not here, but maybe somewhere here is that how it all started, which is when I was an undergrad. I took up statistics in UP in the School of Statistics now, and this is where I really got interested in data in general. So just following, the logos here, I'm also,
Well, wait,
part of the.
can I
Go
interrupt?
ahead.
So out of curiosity, where does the name Z Lift come from? It sounds like a stat term, no? Is that the history?
Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. So really nerdy, but it's actually a lift in the Z score, something like that. So looking for a more technical term, maybe to say that we are here to increase your differentiation in the market or in your industry, and just put it together. And so, but we call ourselves Z for short. Some clients joke about us na parang, oh, instead of introducing the A team, this is the Z team. So, yeah, but thank you for asking. Not a lot of people have the courage to ask me
Yeah,
that.
it had to be asked in a
It had to
conversation.
be asked.
So yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
yes.
Sorry, I
Go.
interrupted you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So, actually, it's I have a timeline later on, maybe that also makes sense to show it to you. But AAP, as you know, this is the ecosystem that we're trying to build in the country together with Doc Ligot, Sharon Pelayo, Colin Christie, and then the other board of trustees. Started with them, and fueled by this passion that we need private organizations, and seeing that there's very very few and scarce resources. I have to get involved in upskilling more people. And so our users group as well is very much aligned with that particular mindset, no, na parang how do I expand yung footprint ng analytics in the country, because R is an open source programming language, and being open source, it will hopefully encourage more people to try it, and not be prohibited by commercial software costs and all that stuff, right? So it's meant to be a community, where we can share knowledge and meet more practitioners and learn together, because there's really no, back then, at least 2013 when it started also, there's no formal training or trainers offering our programming. So this was the way you survive, really just meet with other people. So it's still active, and that's why I still love being part of it, and just hearing all these practitioners share and all of that.
I remember when I
And
first
then
heard about R, no, I was still working in probably banking, no? And at that time, I guess SAS was the king of analytics, in
yes.
terms of programming languages. Was that an inspiration for you in terms of starting the R user group? How do you move people to open source? I don't know if you want to share a
Mm.
little bit.
No, that's actually something that is more of a, because I had no loyalty to the technology, even when in college, right? We were using SAS, of course, SPSS. I think you didn't really have a lot of choices then. eViews, and then um, after school, when there was, of course, you can't afford on your own to have a personal desktop installation of SAS, of course, making this maybe. But I and then I put up this firm that is just purely analytics services. So I didn't want it to be restricted to just the commercially available software out there, and just partner with them and implement these particular solution sets, right? So I actually looked for options that will enable us to show what we have, to show our value without getting tied to any particular technology. And that's how I found R. So I think 2013, that's already too late now for the Philippines, diba? Kasi it's already so popular even before then. So now the challenge was, yun nga, na parang there are tools, there are open source tools that can get more people learning it and using it for analytics. But in the Philippines, there were no resources. So I was really, looking for anyone, di ba? Parang, how do I find anyone who is an expert in R back then, 2013? And then I was introduced to, and apparently the CRAN is also being maintained in UP Stat. So si Tolitz Magadia, special mention to Sir Tolitz. I got introduced to him, and then we actually had my early, few of my consultants started to learn R with him. We were going to UP because he won't go out. So we're going there, and then we were asking him to check our codes, and then doing some form of parang tutorial. And then he introduced me to Ed Santos, who is I think he's in Singapore now. No, he's the one who really started our users group, but based out of Singapore. And that's how we got to form this community. So slowly but surely, from 9 members, now after almost 8 years, I think at least the ones registered around 1,200 or something like that members, no, or at least interested. So that's actually really tied to each other, no, Z-Lift, and then looking for tool sets to bring to the market, because we cannot be tied to particular software and technologies. Found open source, got involved with R, and then with AAP, further expanding, outside of the tools discussion, right? Um, yeah, and then FTW was really very recent. So this is for the Women Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization offering scholarship on data science, for underprivileged women. So this is again tied to parang how do you make more analytics professionals, no? And this for me, it allowed me to scale as well. Although syempre you have to be parang may specific target kasi siya, target market, which is women, and then of a certain profile, right? But happy to have been part of batch 4, the latest batch na last year. And we overall, no, FTW has graduated 100 women already after the program. And then this is kind of more incidental, no, being going back to my alma mater, and now serving at the board of the Alumni Association, the School of Statistics. And this is really more of anong ginagawa ng Alumni Association, di ba? Usually not really active. I didn't really know because as an alumni, I never also got involved with any of the activities. I mean, I wasn't even attending the homecomings and all that stuff. And then, I was pulled in by my teacher. So si Epps pulled me in to be part of the board. And we're now using it as a platform to reach out to the undergrads, and then trying to, show them that you have a network of potential employers, and particularly for pursuing analytics careers, among the alumni networks, companies, and then organizations. So working together right now with the UP School of Statistics to look for industry practitioners as we hopefully boost yung pool of instructors for the professional masters programs, and the MOS, and then other programs nila doon. And then lastly, I also have to add here the PSA logo, because as an institution, ZLEFT, we also support the PSA every year. We attend the conferences just to show our support, promotion of statistics in public sector and also in the industries. So that's really my profile, and why actually I don't want to stop adding logos to this deck. So hopefully when I get my appointment letter, I'll put the UB logo there.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. It's an amazing run, no? I think it's an awesome profile. I think you're one of the most inspirational practitioners out there, no? Men or women. In fact, ano nga eh, I was just curious also, no? Because I remember the School of Statistics during my time in UP, no? In the College of Business, no? When Stat and BA shared the same building. Uh,
yes.
um, what was the gender balance like ba in Stat? Because when I was already
Mm,
working in banking much later, I remember nearly everyone I met from School of Stat was actually female, no? And I
mm,
think that now kind of
right.
leads to the FTW kind, there, and as you notice, there are other parang organizations doing similar stuff for, let's say, software development, like Women Who Code, or She Loves Data, or Women in Tech. So FTW kind of is part of that movement, not to
Mm.
encourage more women in like technology fields. But I've always believed, based on anecdotal evidence, na
Right.
statistics or data science seems to be actually quite dominated by women. No? Was that the case back in the day in stat and today?
Yeah. That was, so I have to reveal my age now. So around 1990 something. Um, it was in fact, if I remember correctly, there were more females in my batch, and in in at Zlift, for example, there's more women than men, in my firm. So it's and I remember also in high school, and of course, syempre mas matagal na yon, in Manila Science High School where I graduated. There was no feeling, to be honest. I still remember, I didn't have any feeling of gender inequality in the science school in UP, in UP Stat.
Mm.
And then now, of course, where of course I control kinda, I kind of bias it towards, if it's with ZDF. But looking at just the, how I grew up, knowing that it is a safe place for me as a woman, as a female, to just thrive. I guess I was one of the lucky ones that didn't feel otherwise. No.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought to ask about that because uh, it seems to be in stark contrast to, let's say, yeah, I'll go back to software development, or I mean, there are women
Mm,
developers, no? In fact, that's such a
right.
non-term nga eh. Like there are no women developers, there are just developers, no? But clearly,
Yeah.
if you look at yung usual pool mo of ano, mobile dev, web dev, most are men, no? And but in
Mm,
analytics, I feel it's the opposite. Actually, it's mostly women, and I think that's very encouraging because analytics,
yeah.
data science, maybe even getting into AI, uh, is now really the dominant career. I would say, in technology, it's the fastest growing career, and if it's
Mm-mm.
empowering women, that's amazing, no? So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
could you talk a little bit
Yeah.
about that? I mean, in terms of your own parang career, no, coming into data science.
I would say me to really get interested in statistics in college was, in high school. We were introduced to the computer science subjects, no, as early as then, that time. And i- again, no, not feeling any threat or fear that this is just for men. The school didn't really dictate any particular profile, but it really got me interested and I just went for it. And in fact, that was one of my favorite subjects in high school. And for me, it's a natural, again, a natural thing for me to take up in college, was something that will complement that. So what will I use this for? And then taking up also statistics, just the study of data. That's how I would really define it. Of course, I'm a statistician, so maraming kakontra dyan. But having that combination of skill sets, and then later on, one of my early jobs after graduation was becoming an ERP consultant. So I was also an SAP consultant, taking up, actually I was a financial accounting and controlling consultant. Back then, wala pa, mga pre-BI days pa to eh. And then I also got certified in for programming. So both sides of the coin, which is on the functional side and also on the technical, programming side. I felt it was always a safe space for me to try things out. No one was telling me you can't do it because you're female. It's in, we have a gender quota, or anything like that. Um, and maybe because that was really, I was making it a non-issue. I mean, if I had anything to advise the women who are pursuing in tech, it's really, passionate about it. Into analytic to be trained. I was sent to Spain to apprentice for some of the data mining consultants abroad. I was working for a consulting firm whose head office is in Spain, and that's how really it got started. So imagine, in another country where there may be there may be more gender bias than here in the Philippines, right? Particularly, in Spain, where it's, very patriarchal society. um, People were in fact warning me, that, if you move to the Spain office, um, you might not get a chance to be promoted. So that was because there was that particular opportunity that they were exploring for me, and I said, why? That's not really a concern for me, because I just wanted to do what I was doing, because of course I was young then, right? So, if I can practice, and then I don't really care about promotion. I was being idealistic and obviously naive back then, right? And then people I was working with there, they were telling me that, yeah, but if you stay here, if you choose to be working at the head office, and you're working here for 5 years, of course you will have to think about, career movement and all that stuff. And this is how it is here, right? Um, so and then I think that was just one of the rare times when I realized, okay, that is an issue. Okay, and maswerte pala kami sa Pilipinas, no? Wala kaming ganong discrimination na nararamdaman. But going home, that was not part of the, not even not a factor for me going home, no. But it was really more of after working there for 2 years, and getting trained, getting the knowledge, and getting the exposure. For me, it was, I have to go back and, share this, practice it in the Philippines. And that was in fact the reason why I went there, diba, in the first place. So I did. I went back. It was in 2001 when I came back, and then pagdating ko dito, people were not talking data, no. So people were talking about not even data warehousing or anything like that. Wala talaga. So I was getting frustrated, and then I was complaining to my boss back then, from a consulting firm, and I said, "There are no projects here. There are no data mining projects for me." And then he said, "Then go get your own." So I did. So that's what I did. I mean, if there's, you make your own opportunity, right? So I went into business development, no, because of that particular incident, because I can't just sit there and just wait for someone to look for it for me, and they can't even qualify that properly. So I was the one who knew how to do that, so I went and did, and then landed my first project. It was for a financial services company, and we built an end-to-end business intelligence system, and then got really very exposed to that industry, work with the BSP on some regulatory requirements as a, use case for BI. And then that became like a showcase or like a template for us, no? And then I just took it to more companies within FSI. And I was saying, okay, this is not really the sexy analytics that I wanted to implement, that I learned how to do abroad. So, but that's okay. It will get there sometime.
This
And
was when? Ano, mga early 2000s, right?
2000, yes, early
Oo.
2000s,
Can
yes.
you kasi I can also relate to that. Back in the early 2000s, at best it was business intelligence, no? BI, data
Yeah.
warehousing. So it's very IT centric, no? Very IT
Yes.
sounding. Uh, when did you, or do you see a big difference now coming into the 2010s and onwards, on how analytics, became its own thing, no, outside of the kind
Mm-mm.
of the data warehouse and the data and the BI kind of space? Did you kind
Right.
of remember that shift?
Yeah, I think, and this is just, my personal perspective, because back in the early 2000s, it was really very much driven by the big technology vendors, right? So they were, selling databases, the popular database, principles back then. They were the ones selling the software for data warehousing and all that stuff. So IT was really, naturally tended to own those types of projects. And it was more of, okay, naglalako, di ba? Okay, who needs a report? Kaya compliance kasi sila yung required, compliance, okay, sales, okay, right? And then after that, when it's all done, and unfortunately, I felt that there was just a lull, because they felt, okay, this is one of those systems. This is one of your transactional systems that just gets stable, and then as long as it's turning out reports, it's fine, right? But not really having that mindset that we have right now, that it has to be always evolving. Even the tools and technologies are evolving with the people who are using the data and all that. Back then it was like one of those core systems that you really need. But now people are building business value instead of making it like just one of those IT systems that have to be in place, right? So thankfully, that was the case. And that was why in 2013, when I started my due diligence, or 2012, my due diligence for Zlift before I put it up, I was scouring the market and looking for sort of doing an informal survey as to how the current state of their data warehouses, if they had one, if there was any attempt to do any analytics work at the enterprise scale. That's where I found that, okay, there's no one doing this. This is really very in the early stages. And I remember it was not an easy sell. How do you explain it to a big or small company what analytics is, right? Back in those days. So I was very fortunate to have a friend of mine, in fact a classmate of mine in statistics, to head a FMCG, and she was in like an IS, information systems head. And I said, I'm going to do a project for you, and your boss is going to love you for this. I think I almost sold it to her like that, right? And then, of course, we talked, and then because she had a statistics background, she understood what I was going to do, my team was going to do. So we did it for her, for her company. We took them through, these are the results, and we show the insights, and they really loved it. So that was my first informal project, but I still consider it as a project, just the same. And from there, it was easier to build more and more use cases. And I was learning, being more, kumbaga parang conversant in analytics with the local market, and trying to, of course, parang laymanize, no, or toning it down, no, when it comes to talk on algorithms and a belief of mine that we cannot be talking to IT. No, they will really not understand, not because of the way we're speaking, statistics and all that, but because they are not the ones who have the pain point anyway. If I get to deliver a really sophisticated and very accurate forecasting model, it will not affect their KPI, right? So it was at the onset, that was how I designed the team and the methodology of Zlift. It's really more to target the ones who have the pain points, and if you do that, in fact, it's really almost assuring that you will get a sign off because nagkakaintindihan kayo sa acceptance criterion, kumbaga.
Do
So
you
that's
remember this
essentially.
diagram I'm flashing?
Yes, of course.
KDD, knowledge discovery.
Knowledge is covered in data.
Databases, no?
In databases,
And
yeah.
then nag-evolve siya later because of SAS, naging ganito na, from
Mm-mm.
descriptive, diagnostic. But it still wasn't data science, no? If you remember,
No,
parang this is
oo.
pre-data science. Kaya wow,
Oo.
no? Yeah, so this was this the era when Zlift was born, or was it the KDD era? Parang siguro tapos na yata yung KDD era.
Yeah, the
Or
KDD was
nagka-transition.
95 eh.
Oo.
Oo
So
eh.
ito na, this is the era when Zlift was born, tong predictive
Yes,
descriptive. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
right.
Sorry, continue. I interrupted your history. I just wanted to share to
No,
people
that's
how it parang evolved.
yeah, how it evolved. I mean, you don't really get to dictate how the market will evolve. Obviously, we are one small player, and I think, I still believe that we are the first one out, to at least see what it's like out there, and do analytics work. But then that's why I felt well, if I may, just on a personal note, that's why I felt, for me, I wasn't working. This is like my dream job for me. I love doing it, and no one is really dictating, no, like when we were working at the corporate setting, no. And imagine if you're working with real data and solving real problems directly, working with their clients for it. That is so, parang ano, so special. It's so bespoke, diba? It's so na you feel that um, I may not be an entrepreneur that way because I'm not watching the hours so much. But then, if that is how we started, if that is how our history, then because I was talking to a peer of mine in the industry, no, and he mentioned that, oh, because you're a small team and you are you have custom services, and now you are trying to scale, right? Because we're getting more clients, right? He told me that it is easier to start like that, how I did it, because I know exactly what the moving parts are, and I know, my, how far we can go. I can experiment. I can do my R&D before I scale. Versus the traditional firms, corporate firms, where you're already bucketed, diba? Na parang, okay, ikaw, business consultant ka, dito ka, technical consultant ka, system consultant ka, and all that. So now, okay, let's go and offer analytic services. Now, how do you do that? Right? So parang, hindi na ganun yung formula, but you are built that way. You are structured that way. So I'd like to think, so thanks for putting this up, Doc, but this doesn't get updated anymore, by the way. But this is still true, no? We want to help companies be better, be much better, and then this is the data way of solving this, whatever problems that they may have. Can always engage with maybe research agencies to tell them that, okay, this is how the market looks like and all that. Or you can do it the data, the real, the working with actual data that you have, and then of exploring all these new technologies without any boundaries. Can work with open source, with maybe just experiment first. So this is how we are, and I'd like to think it's just a big team that is dedicated to working with our clients to solve their problems. So that's, I think that's how we're going to be. If we will scale, because we've always been around maybe 22, 25 consultants, we haven't really grown more than that, any more than that, because it's really hard to find this kind of profile. No, so I'm happy and very lucky to have consultants who have the same passion and same mindset as myself, and have stayed with me for, I think average tenure in the team is around 5, 6 years
Wow,
for an eight
that's a
year
long
old
tenure.
company.
Oo nga eh.
Yeah, yeah.
I was curious no kasi in a way mirroring my own experience starting out. Um did you find that parang that stage when analytics was either confused as a consulting service or a tech service, or did you get
Mm,
that kind of confusion, or and then how did you kind of, because it doesn't seem to fit both eh. Parang it's a fusion but it's not, parang it's its own
right,
space, no? Did you have that
right.
kind of a parang a challenge or a transition when you were starting?
Yes. Yeah, same. Actually, it was to our advantage because the more that you can justify why it has to be a third party, because it doesn't belong anywhere, right? But maybe this is something that even up to now, I think that confusion is there. Doc, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it's unstable. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, ano nga eh, yeah, the connections are wobbly, ano. Anyway, going
Sige.
back to the topic, yeah, kasi tapos lalo na now when you have a loaded term like data science, no, parang there's a third spoke na if you're either a consultant, business consultant, or a software or a tech company or a research company, parang ganyan na nagba-bounce dyan yung ano.
Mm,
And then analytics projects in a way sort of mirror research projects, no? So do you find
right.
yourself dancing around those 3 points, no? And in projects, and how do you manage that?
Okay. Sige. So it will be very hard to sell yourselves like you do everything. It's also hard to understand na parang ano nga ba sila talaga kasi sabi nila they're all these things, right? So it's also hard to imagine for our clients. So the usual way or usual style for me at least is just going to the exact person who needs to be helped, who has the pain point again, who has that particular target that has to be met, and then we will figure out from there if it's best to have the spiel that's like a research agency or more of a tech. So we in fact have this current project right now, where they've chosen us, Zlift, over a traditional market research agency. So oh, so sabi ko, but the use case is really for me. It's not your usual analytics use case. But I said, yeah, we can, pwede. May approach agency and us. Um, we got them convinced, diba, to do it our way, right? So now, as we're working on the project, we find out that our client who are more used to working with research agencies, they were looking for these things. Oh, yung ano, yung ganitong ganyan, yung sample na ganyan, or yung share voice, and then the usual stuff like. Okay, so, and it was a lot of sessions, sort of educating them, no, na parang, yes, meron po, ito po yung katumbas niyan, or it's more than that, it's bigger than that, right? We don't need to sample because we have this. Yeah. We don't need to talk to 100 people because we can socially listen. May mga ganyang klaseng education, no? And then we show them the interactive charts, diba, the models, and then they say, no, just give me a PDF that shows, di ba, the distribution, and then this is my competitor analysis. So, ako yung parang, ma'am, di ka ba lugi niyan kung yan lang bibigay ko sa'yo? Gusto kong sabihin. But, these are real challenges up to this day, right? And I see that happening still because there are really even dun sa operations for type of activities, no, where they want to see efficiencies. Maybe yun yung mga nauunang mga use cases for analytics, no, for sales and all that. But for cases like meron naman akong ahensya so wag mo nang palitan kasi sanay na ako dyan. Mahuhuli talaga sila, no? Mahuhuli talaga sila. So I think it is exciting though kasi it's a challenge to uh, get these units or these parang different profiles naman na sort of modernized, if I may use the term, no, into the age of analytics na.
Yeah, I can relate to that kasi before I went, for example, we went into social impact, no. We would be doing a lot of marketing analytics, which you're very familiar with. Ang nababangga talaga namin before were traditional market research and also traditional marketing agencies. Parang kasi they break that up into two eh. Parang yung market research, survey, FGD, that's it, no? They give you a PDF. Parang the usual suspect, mga SWS, mga Pulse Asia, are the representatives of that, no? And then you have the qualitative FGDs then, where they ask a panel of questions and they draw insights. I'm not saying qualitative research is bad, no? But if it's purely qualitative and you're gonna draw a marketing campaign from that, I find that a little dangerous because you could be off the mark, no, by a lot. And then on the flip side naman, the ones naman doing the campaigns, they'll rely on that information and then they'll cook up a campaign and it's not necessarily measured the way analytics people would measure it, like san yung Z lift, san yung lift in the in sales, no, or san yung lift in performance, and then there's people like us who actually bridge both. Oh yeah, sige, we can do the data gathering, we can do yung what they call A/B testing, we can do champion challenger, diba? Parang ganyan.
Yes.
But as one big package. And it really disruptive. It's very disruptive. Tapos lalo na ngayon where you have platforms like Facebook, obviously, and yung mga
Mm.
CRM platforms, which can do both, both the listening part and the execution, and it really throws off the traditional agencies a lot, no? And yeah, that's quite
Mm-mm,
disruptive.
mm-mm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's your great history, no, on Zlift, no. I want to go back to ano naman, no, the FTW work you do, no. So tell us about that, no. I mean, I understand
Mm-hmm.
you joined their latest cohort as one of the instructors. I think you're the head of tama ba? Head of learning.
Learning, yeah.
So
Mm-mm.
how is it like, becoming ano na nga, responsible for the career shifts of many women, no?
Yeah. No, it's actually something that I didn't expect in terms of the level of commitment that teachers, of course, di ba, parang alam na natin, this is really noble profession. But then you do this, which is not for profit, and then to this particular uh, segment ng women who were just, sabihin na nating, nalihis lang ng konti yung career nila na they have high potential when they graduated, many of whom are, let's say, engineering STEM backgrounds, and then became, had to be part of a, let's say, become a customer service representative, and then, get somehow stuck there for 5 years. So this type of profile, but then don't have enough, at least financial capability to fund for their own cross skilling, diba? So itong ganitong profile, and then having to commit to ensuring that they do get better jobs after this. That to me is really, parang it can't just be all talkies na parang, yeah, I want to do that, diba? That's my advocacy. I mean, no, that's no BS. Talagang you have to do the actual thing kasi there's no one else who will do it. We, and together with these instructor mentors that we call, no, because they're both instructing, doing the instructor work and also doing the mentoring, not just for the capstones but also for sort of career counseling these women, and see Mike, see Ives, Angie, see Carney, and then Shane is was one of our in-house, no, data scientists at FTW. You have to work uh, with these particular, di ba, parang this particular profile in mind, and it's always a customized and talagang very dynamic curriculum, because you tailor fit it with, based on how they're coping with the lessons. And data science, as you know, is not, di ba, try to compress it in 14 weeks. Obviously, di ba, parang mahirap siya, and it's not just 14 week. We teach the class every Saturday. They have homeworks, they have, consultations once a week and all that stuff. And when I was involved as head of learning and also doing some of the lectures, that was already the pandemic na. So that was the first FTW batch that was virtual 100%. So imagine the challenges that we had to put up a curriculum that's really, tailor fit for a virtual setup, hindi masyadong nakaka-zoom fatigue, and all these things. Plus, the key ingredient to the success of previous FTW batches was that camaraderie, di ba? Parang working with women who are like you, who are in the same situation or similar situation as you. They bond together when they're in Saturday class, when they're doing their capstones, nagpupuyatan sa coffee house. Last year, we didn't have any of that. So we had to step in and be their parang team builders, be their rara cheer persons, 'di ba? Kasi wala silang ganung interactions and physical interactions, unlike in the past. So thankfully, after, the whole program, we completed it just as we have planned and intended. I think we have more than 50% now of batch 4 who's already employed in data related careers. So that's the impact that
Amazing.
we want naman. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
Kasi I'm trying to bridge yung kwento earlier na within statistics, let's say,
Mm.
there didn't seem to be a gender imbalance. But in the FTW cohort, obviously these are not yung mga natively stat, no, or they were
Yeah.
coming
Mm-mm.
from other careers,
Yeah.
uh, where there may be a gender bias, no, in other careers,
Mm.
and now they're finding that their new home in data science. Can you share, like, based from what you've seen, what were the usual, I don't know, hesitancy or roadblocks
Mm.
for these women, no, coming into data science, or what were they struggling to overcome, if there were any,
Right. No, we still see that up to this day. I mean, it's not like parang we have somehow found a formula to address that issue, which is common among women, which is that imposter syndrome, diba? Parang they feel even after having graduated FTW, and even the top of the class, kumbaga, if there was one, they felt they still lack confidence. Kahit kami talaga na si Kara Wilson is the executive director of FTW, and then the IMs, the instructor mentors, we were all, girl, parang natapos mo yung FTW, wala ka pa rin confidence, ang hirap kaya nun, di ba? Parang how did you did it? Obviously, you should be able to conquer even more less complicated scenarios like that. So that just proves that ganun talaga, no, naging nature ng maybe women in tech in general, not just in data science, that they're somehow they feel maybe inferior, maybe they feel that there is they're too late in the game, or it's not necessarily because of age, but maybe they feel, I've already spent 5 years doing something else, and then I'm just restarting now, no, or maybe going for an entry level, maybe, 'di ba, nakaka ano yun, parang discouraged, right? So in the next batch, we will try to put more of parang career coaching for just targeted, very very customized to career switchers and for women who are venturing into tech for the first time. I believe there is that special and unique way to do it. It's not good, maybe not necessarily the same formula for all women out there, no, but um, as you know, women are complex creatures. So we have to be really very purposeful when we design such parang a course, if we may call it, that just addresses that. Pero makikita mo talaga, parang how can you doubt yourself when you have undergone all these things and you were able to do all these amazing things given the span of time and given yung lahat ng nangyayari sa buhay. Kasi these FTW students, they have day jobs, ha? And then you have to reserve your Saturday whole day for the class, learning Python for just 2 days. And then the next day you will learn Tableau, and then the next day you will learn regression analysis. So imagine doing all those crash courses, then applying everything in a capstone. They finish with flying colors. The clients are so happy, and at the end of it, they're still con, 'di ba? They still lack confidence. Parang sabi ko, why? 'Di ba? So yun yung parang naisip ko na, how can I how can I help address that? Kasi if I say that this is my story and this is how I've never been fearful of anything, 'di ba? Parang I just power through essentially, 'di ba? Sabihin na natin makapalang mukha ko or what, but really I don't mind failing, 'di ba? So let's go and try it. And I felt that was just it, no, sabi nga nila, no, just do it, just try, and then don't hesitate. If then that's not your problem, that's their problem. All you have to do is just power through and make sure you don't see that as a barrier, because we're all equal, and I can definitely say that's what happened to me.
You raise an interesting point, no, and maybe it's good to dwell on this a bit. So clearly merong there's the confidence issue is a phenomena, the imposter syndrome is a phenomena, and that's that's coming from kunyari drawing inner strength, no, from the women themselves, no, to first be courageous
Right.
and to power through. But then obviously the other part of the equation is, are there obstacles naman being thrown at women then, no? I think that's another argument that,
Mm-hmm.
or kunyari bias in the workplace, or bias in the like organizations.
Yeah.
Have you had
Right.
parang a brush with that, or
Mm.
even within FTW, has that happened to anyone that
Mm.
taught or mentored?
Right. No, definitely it is real. The bias in the workplace is it exists. And kahit sabihin na natin in the Philippines, I think we were ranked na, no, very very high, no. Even the top, no, in I just saw that last week. I think in they featured that, I think 47% of the executives in the Philippines are women. So that's really, and it consistently for the past 2 years, and doubting because, maybe because you're a woman, or because, you charmed your way or whatever, 'di ba? Na ganun talaga eh, may mag-iisip ng ganon, 'di ba? So that's what I'm saying, na if that becomes an issue, that there are doubts because of your gender, that should not be your issue, right? You stick with the metrics, that the criteria that were set in place. Make sure that you are professional about it, and that is your proof, right? Parang hindi yung magigilty ka na, but I always made them feel confident about, how I still have the kumbaga, how I stood firm, that I don't care if that's what they think, because I will excel in this and I will show them that it's not an issue, right? That gender is not, my issue. And there's also that, maybe not necessarily in top positions, but it's simple, everyday things like, you're in a meeting, and then I think I heard the stories of the FTW students, that paano po when I raise, for example, an issue, or just a small thing, maybe they're discussing data or whatever, and then they raise an issue. They feel that they're just shushed because they're women. They felt that, okay, hindi mo man alam yan, that's not your place, or getting comments like that, right? They still exist. Naririnig pa rin naman natin yan. So that also happens, let's say, in the consulting team, working with clients. You work with the IT, who are, mostly dominated by males, and then you get comments like this, as if they already know that you don't know anything about IT infrastructure just because you're a woman, right? So may mga ganyan pa rin kailangang address, but then yun nga yung magandang examples ng, so what do you do in those scenarios? Do you just stay quiet, or hindi naman yung makikipag-away ka, 'di ba, na parang manghahamon ka? Hindi naman yun. Just be professional about it. Just state your case, and then this is also one of the, in fact, yun nga, because I'm aware of these things, though. I teach it as part of the consulting training at ZLIF, no? So all consultants need to know how to diplomatically address mga issues like these, because you will encounter these things. Paano pa yung makikipag-diskusyon ka sa executives, or mostly, male dominated again? You're presenting something, it is their problem, and then they have to fix it. And you're a woman right in front, you are doing that for them, the way you're pointing it out, right? Paano pa yung ganon, no? So there are also some, I would say, techniques that I learned along the way, no? But hindi naman yan lahat na parang, o sige, wala na totally. But there's still those cases, and hindi natin yan matatanggal. So all you have to do as a woman is, again, make sure that you always stay professional. Don't use also your gender as your alas. You're doing the other way. You're doing the same thing, but you're also discriminating. So just stick with us. We are data scientists. We are, we are data people. Stick with the facts, right? If you stick with the facts, that is the safest way for you. So this is how it is. You present what you need to present. If they don't listen to you, you call their attention politely, professionally, because it's a business setting, right? May mga subtle na mga things that I can give tips, like how you dress, maybe. when you are presenting, don't stress the fact too much that you're a woman. I don't wear red or pink whenever I do presentations, except for times when I have to emphasize that I am a woman. Like when we did the Sparta thing, I was wearing a red suit because I needed to show that I'm the only woman there. So may mga ganon, no? Whenever you sit, where you're in a boardroom and you're in a room full of men, where do you sit? That's one of those things, diba? You should, don't go to the corner, diba? Na parang, wag naman yung masyadong palaban, no? It's not naman, it's like, we're discriminating naman on the males, right? So it's a workplace. So there's really, that's the safest way is just stick with matter at hand, which is just state everything based on facts. Stick with a agenda. Anything that's uncalled for, that's related to, maybe gender bias, you feel discriminated against, don't be afraid to call it out, but make it professional and diplomatic. Yan, that is.
I had to dig
Although
it.
of
I had to
course,
dig it up.
ako yung yeah, of course I'm not the only woman in ano, but I think I really felt I had to show that I am I had to bias the gender there kasi mas konti kami na babae sa Sparta. But yeah, I mean, I also saw the stats that they showed 47%, was it, of Sparta
47%
scholars.
of Sparta scholars. There's more than 20,000.
Are
I imagine that.
women.
40%,
Oh my gosh,
47% of it.
yeah.
So that's nearly, I don't know, nearly 10,000 women.
Oh my gosh. That's
Amazing.
that's what yeah, that's a feat. Yes. So yeah,
um,
it's
Talking about that, no, I can relate. But that's still a great photo. Sige, tago na muna natin. I can definitely relate on client, no, clients, um, and there's a gender lens, no. Like I remember, we were pitching to a customer, and the client was objecting to us. So it was me and a colleague of mine, of course,
mm-hmm.
female. And the objections my colleague was getting was slightly different to what I was getting. Parang,
Oh.
diba? It's interesting, no? I mean, they were objecting to us en masse, no? As a group. Pero yung mga objections sa akin were more around the nuances of the proposal. They were nitpicking on details.
Mm.
While the objections to my colleague was very status driven. Parang
Mm.
you'll know it when the word iha comes into the conversation. Parang there you go, no? That's the
Yeah.
word. That's the trigger word.
Nagkaroon din ako niyan.
And sabi ko, fascinating, no? And syempre when you're live, I guess in the moment,
Mm.
you just have to take mental notes, no? And then when we were processing it,
Yes.
pabalik kami in the vehicle, sabi ko, did you know that your objections were different from my objections? Sabi ko. And we were dealing with the classic chauvinist, no, client.
Mm.
So kahit sa lalaki, you get the objection, but in a very different way, no? It's very interesting, fascinating concept.
Yes, yes, yes. I remember that particular one na you can't kasi lalo na pag ikaw yung type na talagang emotional ka, no, na parang unfortunately you have to go through the experience for you to learn it.
You have to experience it, no? Pero it's good that at least in FTW, you're there, no, to share the benefit of your experience to women who may not. But parang in many cases, they're not even aware, no? They're being discriminated against, no? And it's good to, show signs of that, no?
Yeah.
And correct
Yes.
it. Okay. I'm just being conscious of the hour, we've been talking for more than an hour, which is really great, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought maybe we'd bring it back to maybe a career in data, and obviously, you and I are some of the pioneers, especially in your field. Then, where do you see, and then samahan mo na rin ng for women then, where do you see careers in data going, and or anything that you want to flag now? Because clearly people coming into the field now, even people going into a BS stat career, might be slightly different now compared to when you started. Anything that you want to highlight as
Right.
can be red flag, good thing, bad thing, para people are aware no,
Oo.
based on what you experienced.
Yeah, actually, that's a good thing that you reminded me of. Kasi in my batch, there was just 30 of us, 30, no? When we graduated in stat. And last year was it? If I remember correct, or maybe 2019, no, before the pandemic. The top course sa UPCAT na tinake ng nag-register, no, yung mga pumapasok sa UP was statistics with 160 applicants. Oh my, parang, what happened? Parang ganon eh. Parang, is that because of the hype, or, because they really felt, siguro it was introduced earlier on, when they were in high school, they got more interested in data or in statistics, or maybe it's the media, or, maybe all the Mark Zuckerberg stuff, getting into data and monetizing your data. I don't know, maybe for good or bad, whatever led them to choose that kind of career that's data related. That was such an unimaginable talagang. But what was more shocking for me was, and my friends will hate me. My friends in stat will hate me. Yung curriculum na we graduated in, that we use that they use for us, it's the same one that they're using.
So things have
So,
barely changed from the time that you came in statistics and today.
external factors talaga, external factors. Now, let's see, no, but there are also more people enrolling and getting interested in the masters in statistics, and the first, I think this is the first one that they're running for PMDS, a professional masters in data science, also under statistics. So I think the class is around maybe 15 to 20 na malaki na rin, ano, and they are not all stat graduate, stat majors. No, they come from computer science, engineering, and then all these other fields. So I would say back then, my batchmates were going into, again, this was, sige na, sasabihin ko na, 1995. Sila, they went to research agencies, they went to insurance companies. That was the majority. I think I was the outlier. I went into software development. So I was a programmer, and then wala pa kasing Google noon. Di pa tayo nag-Google noon, no? So sabi ko, meron bang classified ads for statistical programmer? Yan ang term natin dati sa data
Yeah,
science.
statistical programmer. And actually,
Oo.
if you drill down to the job, that's exactly the job, a statistical programmer. Diba?
Yes, di ba? What they say, di ba, parang who's that guy who said, a data scientist is a software engineer who's good in statistics, or a statistician who's good in software engineering, something like that. Eh.
Yeah.
So when I went into consulting, that's where I also got trained as an ERP consultant, and then what I mentioned earlier, and got to work with enterprise clients, and got exposed to business analysis, business process. I really felt that was really that became my edge, no, eventually, because I know how systems. Right, just canceling the noise. Is that better? You don't hear the dogs anymore.
A little bit, but yeah, that's fine. We can still understand you.
Shucks. Okay. Yeah, just switching my audio. So yeah, I felt it was my exposure to ERP implementations and working directly with them. We're doing things, the wrong way, the manual way. No conscious at all. It's really just an afterthought, no? Parang caring for how these encoders, maybe data stewards, yung ganong perspective, wala na silang ganong nakikita kasi diretso na sila dun sa analytics work eh.
Yeah, I noticed na that's really a big change talaga. Kasi I was also bred under data warehousing, no? So my view of even data science back in the day is you have to get your data fundamentals right first. Pero the reality is,
Right.
you can really just jump in, no? Grab some data from all over the place, put it in R or Python, and create a model.
Yeah.
So even I had to adjust. Yeah, okay. That's kind of like the quick and dirty. Create a model and go for it. Which in a way, now I have a newfound appreciation for it. Kasi it's similar to
Mm.
software development then. Parang, oh, we don't have to do like, a full software architecture, parang quick and dirty proof of concept lang, which we experienced in hackathons, for example. But that's nowhere near a production
Right.
ready app, no? So parang may ganyan ding distinction, no, in analytics and data science, na
Right.
you have to be flexible na, yes, sige, let's do a quick and dirty one. But if you want to implement it, it's very different. No? You need to productionize that. I think we had that topic in AAP, di ba? Parang
Yeah.
how do you deploy a model? No, that's
Yeah.
something we were bred to do by default. Pero ngayon, that's
Yeah.
that's that's sort of a step further pa pala. So you do this quick and dirty model and then you deploy. Interesting change, no, over the years.
Yeah, that's why, in the class. So in thanks for putting this on here. What I found, not, I don't want to say what I found lacking, but what I told the dean kasi, and the program director for PMDSA, na how I can contribute here is, if I imagine someone graduating na ganito yung courses niya, no, may hahanapin pa ako sa kanya eh. Kunwari, I'm the employer, di ba? Or I imagine one of my clients na taking them in as their data scientist. And that is, bringing them back to the reality of, this is what happens in the operations of a company. This is what happens with, kasama mo na dyan yung political hierarchy. Kasama na dyan yun eh. Working with other departments who you have to beg for data, di ba? Or para working with the DPO and all that stuff, di ba? Parang hindi ka kasi magiging silo lang na you have your own data science team, you are the untouchables, you are the elitist in the company. Hindi kasi siya ganon, no? So, if you inject that into the master's program, na these are the practitioners na, di ba? Paglabas nila, ito na yon eh, game na sila, di ba? uh, then they have to be prepared for doing their own model deployment, diba? How do you do that? Working with other teams, or building the competency on your own, or getting that approved in the first place. Sino yung kakausapin mo dun sa sinabi nating political hierarchy na yon? So that is really, giving them that context, no? This is your data science project, ganda-ganda, very ideal world. Now, this is the context of it. Yan. So, welcome to the real world talaga. So, I think this is a graduating class that I'm teaching also on the second year. So, part of it is, we start with, just to make kwento a bit, but I really love, that one, because I feel it's only UP who will have that kind of subject, no? Dahil craft namin na brainstorming with the dean and the program director na it starts with the business analysis framework, the BABOK, in fact. So, but very high level lang, no? Hindi yung talagang deep dive. But they have to know how to do that as data scientists. Yung sinasabi natin sa in forms, no, na nawala sa KDB eh, yung business problem statement, yan dapat ang una. Now, how do you do that without domain knowledge, no? Kung alam mo lang ay, oh, bagong hire ako eh, napapasok ka sa isang big BPO company. So, do you think you can do your magic, di ba, without, taking the pains of, parang making all the effort to understand first how it works, no? From recruitment of agents to, workforce resource management, to lahat yan, iintindihin mo yan. And then that's where you find business understanding first before you can concretize yung tinatawag natin loosely na use case for data science. Yan.
Yeah, that's why itong crisp DM, which I also heard from you, no, in the AAP discussion, seems to endure eh. Kasi although it came
Yeah.
from a tech company, no, I don't know if
Mm-mm.
IBM yan or whatever, but it had
Yeah.
that business box, and I think that's
Yeah.
very important talaga. You don't lose that
Mm-mm.
part. No? That's really the important. Ano. And
even this one particularly, I use this kasi sabi ko, and then this is one of the summits that we had at AAP when I presented na in the AI era, right? Na you have AutoML, which is automating all these things. Where do you think, which parts do you think are will be left for the humans
for
to do?
humans, yeah.
Oo.
Uh,
Yung domain knowledge ba sa tingin mo ma-AI nila yon? Parang, yun ba? Di ba? Yung political hierarchy na sinasabi natin kanina, ma-AI mo ba yon, di ba? So, it's really something that regardless of what may come and go na technologies, you have to have that. So, kumaga take the pains of studying the business analysis framework. I will touch on organizational design, teach them a bit about data architecture because that's basic entity relationship diagram na kinalakihan natin, Doc, nung nag-aaral tayo ng systems analysis and design. Napaka-importante pa rin hanggang ngayon para maintindihan mo muna yung pinapanggalingan ng ano mo, no, ng data points mo.
in,
So that's
in
basically that.
fact, yeah, in fact, I wanted to interject there, no? 'Di ba, of course, data ethics talks about the kind of the dark side of data. Yung mga issues that we see, like kunyari yung discrimination because of ano, deep learning, is I think a symptom of yung pure data and pure mathematical approach being
Right.
used without necessarily considering the business context, which in this case is
Mm.
diversity is a business context, right? And
Yes.
so you
Yeah.
create let's say, and it's interesting how it impacts, kunyari public services, like in the UK it's a big deal, no? You use facial recognition to apply for a passport, pero if that facial
Mm.
recognition algorithm is not even trained on minorities, nahihirapan yung mga people with dark skin and ethnicities applying for a passport, only
Right.
because no one took the time to
Yeah.
make sure na you've done the business understanding, or at least compared na, oh, this is my training data for the algo, and these are the
Yon.
actual people applying for a passport. There you have a mismatch. The whole thing just gets messed up, no? but
Yes.
but
Yan yung
that's something we're
sinasabi ko.
trained to do by default, diba?
Yeah. I mean, if you're the one doing the sampling design, domain knowledge din yun eh. Kasama
Oo.
din yun eh, di ba? So, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na kaya niya yan lahat. And I just highlight the importance kasi of getting the domain knowledge. And when you're totally, iba hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, hindi ako pwedeng mag-project dyan kasi hindi ako domain expert. But what I teach is actually how to do a quick deep dive. So, because you have to. Like what we're doing, one of the projects that we're doing for a geothermal company,
Mhm.
we needed to have a geologist in the team. Wala. Wala. So, buti na lang meron kami. The client is the one who's playing that role, no? And then eventually, you have to also be humble enough to say, I don't know that, 'di ba? I just look at the data, pero walang context kapag hindi mo sinabi sa akin na ito pala ay ganito, stratigraphy, ito pala ay rock formation, ito. How would we know, 'di ba?
Yeah.
So, that's how essential it has to be, but it's really downplayed because we want to talk about the algorithms and we want to talk about the maths and all these things eh.
Mhm. Well, grabe, this can be another podcast altogether, but I find that, no, I think you've touched on an interesting point. Kasi parang, it seems like you're towing the fine balance. Eh. On the one hand, you have parang a temptation to just rely na lang completely on data and algorithms, which can be dangerous, which is
Yeah.
also lazy. So you have to bring it
Yeah.
back now. O sige, bring domain understanding into it. And then, of course, you'll meet your clients. And it's not just clients, no, it's other industries who are in the opposite boat. Na they're far too reliant on the domain knowledge to the complete
Mm.
exclusion of, don't give me your data. I've done this for decades. This is how it's
Yeah.
this is how it's traditionally done, and my decades of experience have told me this. I mean, we're not
Yeah.
invalidating that, no? Pero
Yeah.
baliktad naman yung challenge mo doon. Parang you're trying to insert the data into it, and that's where your
Yes.
challenge with the market research group and
Yes.
comes in.
Yeah.
Well, we've done FGDs forever. Yeah, and how far have you gone, no, with those traditional tools, no?
Oo.
So now you want to augment that naman with, like, the quantitative stuff. It's fascinating, no? You're parang, you don't know where, minsan you're erring on the side of one or the other, but the practitioner needs to be kind of in that parang razor's edge where you're kind of balancing both.
Yeah. Yes. I
Uh,
think it's every data science course has to start with yung framework natin for professional, di ba, professional maturity model. Parang there are different rules first of all. So uh, do not expect that you will just play one, because when you talk to, even internally in your own company, when you talk to, let's say, marketing, when you talk to finance for their use cases, uh, you will have to wear the hat of the IT sometimes kasi hindi nila naintindihan. You have to you you put the data into the discussion nga, 'di ba? In those times. So parang I'm not sure also if that is how it's being introduced, no. Data science kasi is always the science, 'di ba? Pero it's, in reality, it's people who make it work. 'Di ba? Parang yung sinasabi natin classically na all these big systems, 'di ba? SAP, Oracle, these are really, very complex and very sophisticated, top of the line software and the solution suites. But it's the one who implements it, 'di ba? Diyan naman naglalaban yan eh. Gaano ka-close dun sa domain, gaano ka-close dun sa, even deployment stage eh. Kailangan mo pa rin ng domain knowledge dyan even up to the very end eh. Because you don't know how they're going to use it, right? When we were discussing that at the AAP. So lahat yan, yung buong cycle, you have to understand with the domain lens, and then knowing the different roles that you need to play in the discussions, in the different discussions, because you will get passed on from IT to the boss, to the staff, to the analyst. So lahat yan, you're the data engineer, you're the data steward. So it is hard, it is so wide, but that's what makes this a really special. I mean, if it's that simple, and we could have had like 500,000 data
yeah,
scientists
could
now,
have
di
had
ba?
millions, no? Yeah, I want to ask you this
Oh.
because you're a statistician, no? And I didn't come from stat, no? I came from finance. So sige, let's look at those two fields, no? Finance and statistics. And maybe I'm more of an outlier kasi I was in jobs where we were bringing stat into finance, no? Like capital markets, algorithmic trading, credit scoring. So these are finance fields, pero hinalo kami ng
Yes.
statistics, di ba? Pero yung hardcore finance people, I'm generalizing, they're
Mm.
quantitative, but not in a statistical way. No, I'll give you an example. No,
I know what you mean.
you
Oh.
know what I'm saying. So yung kunyari, one classic thing na statisticians will talk about, pero accountants will never talk about, is significance. No, like yung Z lift mo, the Z lift, diba? That's a significance measure, diba? Parang so we will gauge business in finance, no, in business outcomes. We'll have something very similar, like, okay, up by X percent, down by X percent, or you beat expectations by Y percent. Pero a statistician will look at it further na parang, yeah, but standard deviation, variation looks normal, it's not out of the ordinary, looks random. And I remember going back in time and thinking, wow, no, how many careers in, let's say, in banking were crafted out of purely random chance na swinerte lang tong tao na to na he got that success. You know what I mean? And then there are some people who might have just been as brilliant, pero because you were on the other side of that bell curve, but a stat person would say, well, probabilistically, both are equal. You could have been up here, down here, and one person ends up becoming senior vice president. The other one barely scratches EVP, di ba? Parang, do you, I don't know how you react to that now as a statistician. It's an interesting phenomenon. I mean, now, decades after, I reflect on it, na parang, oh my gosh, how random was my career back in the day.
Oo. No, actually, well, meron akong kausap niyan the other day kasi you get what's interesting with this field, with our field, is and I was talking to I had another talk the other day. Ang key takeaway nila from what I said was there is no undergrad, there's no one undergrad for data science. N- Diba? You can come from anywhere. That in FTW we had a history major. We had someone applying na parang ano yun, music pa nga yata eh. Or I mean it's totally maybe random, di ba? Parang it's totally different backgrounds. Then you just have a shared interest in how data works, and then how it can, how you can use it further for to reap benefits out of it, yung mga insights and all that. Pero parang when you start discussing how they see the insight. So, ipupush ko na ng konti, no? Not just the data. May common interest kayo dyan. But then, itong angulo yung makikita niya. Itong angulo yung makikita ko. Doon na nag-iiba. And then that makes it so much interesting. Kasi you put all these people together in a team. Kasi sinasabi natin, dapat data science teams palagi. Kasi hindi pwedeng isa lang ang tamang sagot, di ba? Pwedeng maraming tamang sagot, di ba? But then it's all maybe just a few you want to maybe worth a try. Maybe this is what will succeed during deployment. This is what will be accepted. But having that, and that's what we practice at Z. Kasi one is a physicist, one is a material science engineer, one is a statistician, and then yung isa talagang CFA math, ganon siya. And then they talk about something that's none of the above, which is they talk about energy. Okay, game brainstorm. So that's part of our work culture. So you have an open field, you brainstorm, and then you just throw, and then they love it. I mean, they have fun. They're geeking out because they feel that they're learning a lot. Yan pala yung statistician pala ganyan mag-isip, as you were just saying, diba? And I always try to attend those brainstorming sessions kasi they're so much fun to listen to, diba, different theories, let's test this, ganyan, blah blah blah, and then that's how they divide the work. So I would say na maybe it is by nature talagang from random things, random different backgrounds, but there's one common thing. There has to be one common framework, otherwise, diba, parang chaos to, diba? So that's what we also want to do in AAP, diba? Put that a common framework, and then from there, sige, branch out and then explore and so on, right? And then of course, ethics is part of the framework, because one of those things that you will be discussing may be, okay, they need to be sort of checked and counter checked, no? Like what you said, how do you make sure that diversity in, diba, gender or anything else, diba, is counter checked, no? So may mga complexities din that each of these different backgrounds that we're trying to put frameworks around. There's that complexity na parang hindi naman din kasi yan pare-pareho ng pinag-aralan. I mean, sorry to say, but when you talk about statistics and then you say, hindi yan sa School of Statistics, or kunwari sa physics, hindi naman yan ano yung tawag doon, yung different branches of statistics ng physics nila, 'di ba? So may mga ganun din tayong backgrounds, no? So people learn also differently, and coming from having practiced in the lab, or sometimes talagang purely academic path, iba-iba din. So I think in our profession, it has to be accepted that we cannot put together just one, maybe certification, yung sinasabi natin, assessment. Kasi how do you start measuring when everything is just you don't know, you don't understand yet, no, what makes a good data scientist? Or right now we are looking at it from a let's measure a good data scientist by the number of successful models they have deployed. Is that fair? I don't know. Or maybe
Or
something.
the number of lines of code they've
The
written
number of
sa mga software, no?
So the number of AIs that they have deployed or whatever. So parang hindi nga natin yun ma-define, di ba? We don't know what good looks like for us to say that, okay, this is the entry point, no? This is pasado ka, qualified ka kapag you can do these things. So that's why it's hard. I mean, we understand. But it doesn't also sort of absolve the, let's say, universities or any other educational systems to parang kaya hindi natin na prepare ng tama yung supply natin of talent. There's still these foundational skills like yun nga, at least introducing basic data awareness or knowing what yung data literacy, making that part of the maybe senior high school curriculum, like what we're trying to help, with the PBED, diba? And, may mga ganito na pwedeng introduce na earlier on. And then eventually we can come up with that maybe scorecard or like a qualification for data scientists in a more less chaotic pala, not more chaotic way. Right? But yeah,
Yeah.
exciting.
Sige. Um, we could just talk forever about these topics now, obviously. No. Maybe or we need to save some for the next one. So do you want to leave our audience with maybe your top three takeaways? Because I think you covered a lot of ground, no? Analytics career, your being a woman in the field, and of course, people who are in a way encountering difficulties in the workplace. Anything that you want to highlight, yeah, like
Mm,
top three list before we
yeah.
adjourn.
It's actually very very hard because I covered a lot, but I always wanted to find a way to impart, kumbaga, yung parang pinaka guiding principles, let's say, in your career, in one's career, and without saying that, this what where I am, and because I have my own, consulting firm, doing what still doing, diba, what I love to do after, at this age, and after having exited the corporate world. um, that is my criterion for my own success, for my own contentment, no. I think that is a better term. I'm not saying that is for everyone. It is very challenging, but that is how I am, no. It's not for everyone, but I really encourage more people to try it, because um, for me as a woman, I am a mother of two teenagers, and in this day and age where, we are on lockdown. I haven't left the house for mago 1 year na ako, Doc, March 13. So I even, stopped leaving the house on March 13, even before March 15 lockdown. But my take on all this thing happening, and the data science industry, even thriving so much, di ba, parang so much more in terms of projects during the pandemic, and all these clients really going crazy over, I want to rush my data projects, especially these days, and all that stuff. um, if you are a woman and you have real demands, on your personal life, on your professional life, on everything, diba, on your social life, um, that is my case. No, I'm not special. I'm not absuelto from all those demands. No, I have those the same as any woman. Maybe some people will have it, maybe less complex, or even more complex. But I want to just maybe share that I feel I am even at my best. It's actually hard for me to actually say it because it seems wrong, diba? But I feel that I'm at the best, stage in my career and in my life, because I am able to be a homemaker, at the same time be a career woman, be able to sustain my team, and still expanding by this year, having time for myself. I started to grow some plants like many people are these days. I still find time to practice yoga. I don't get to run anymore, but I find time for myself, but doing all these other things. So I want to be a model for all the women out there who feel that they have too much going on. There is a structure that you can maybe hold on to. And maybe that works for OC people like me. So there goes one secret of mine. uh, I and maybe also it works for me who I'm panicking for the time that I may not have anymore when we're not on lockdown. So just making the most out of it, and being the best at whatever you do. It's so easy to say, but doc, pero parang yun palagi yung sinasabi ko. If you wanna go and be a plantita, maybe try to be the best version of that. I don't know. Maybe in small, mundane things, try to excel, because if you get into that practice of striving for being the best at anything, it becomes part of your nature, and you will have more confidence, and you'll break down a lot of barriers. So I would like to have more opportunities where I can learn and challenge myself, and but my of course still trying to look out for your own personal health, your mental health, and what is really most important, that enables me and every one of us to still do what we need to do, no? So it's not data related, my tip, but if you would like to uh, pursue and be very good at something which is something like data science and start this career, um, there's so many things to learn, and I hope that you have that passion and ano yung tawag doon, yung parang hindi ka mapapagod sa kaka-aral, and just know, be open to all these things that you can still learn, and take on all the challenges that you can, provided of course, again, health considerations and all that, because you can't just be learning, you have to be practicing, no? Learn and practice, and when you're at that stage, when you feel that you can help others, find that multiplier effect para mas mabilis tayong mag-grow, no? Parang, as I was sharing in another talk, it's like parang nagmo-multi-level tayo, no? So parang start with, like in Sparta, right? You start with a few instructors, you teach more scholars that way, and then that's actually how we can grow. So yeah, I would say yun nga, parang mahirap i-summarize, because I feel I want to share a lot more, but you know how I am. I really talk a lot. So I hope I will leave some for maybe succeeding talks, Doc. And it's good that we work together, because we can make some more cuento next time.
Yeah, I don't think we could end on a higher note than that, no. So I'd like to thank you, Michelle, for sharing with us your journey. Of course, your love for not just data, no, your love for life, your love for your family, your love for your career, and of course, love for learning. I mean, those are things now. Those are just so classic. They will endure, and also thank you for giving back. No, I mean, you're one of the pioneers in the industry, and then now you're one of the pioneers in education, data
Wow.
education. Let's say FTW, your AAP obviously, and now you're getting into UP, giving back to the alma mater. I think that's how we ensure that things get better. I mean, we learned a lot of stuff in our day, and then now we have to reinfuse it back into the system, no? So that
Right.
the next Michelle Alarcon, no, coming into a BS stat or somewhat career will find the same choices, and build on what you've built. So yeah, thanks very much. Hope to
Thank
have
you.
another chat soon.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
Thank you, Doc.